Hi guys, just a little quick video on how to turn decimals back into fractions. Our essential question is, how do I convert decimals into fractions? And I'm going to go ahead and spoil it and tell you the answer is right here. This is important, and I'm going to circle it like it's a key word. You have to know your place value. So I'm also going to put a star right here as something to study for my test. You have to know after the decimal point, we have to know our tenths, our hundredths, and our thousandths, because this allows us to take a decimal value and put it back into a fraction by knowing what the denominator is. So I'm going to add a question over here in the side of my notes, and I'm going to say, how do I know what the denominator, big words here, of the fraction will be? Okay? And the answer to that question is right here by this star. I know what the denominator in my fraction is going to be by the place value, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay? When you read your decimal point properly, just note that this right here is going to be read as the word and. So let's start here, and I have 0 and 5/10. And this is why we try to avoid saying 0.5, because 0.5 doesn't help me make the fraction. But by understanding that this 5 is in the tenths position, I understand what my denominator is going to be. So 5/10 as a decimal is also 5/10 as a fraction. Now, can I just leave my fraction as 5/10? The answer is no. So I'm going to ask myself a question over here, and I'm going to say, how do I simplify a fraction? Question mark. And here's the answer to that question. To simplify it, you're going to put it into lowest terms, and some teachers will say you're going to reduce your fraction. And what we do is we have to think of a number, okay? We have to come up with a number by ourselves. What number can I divide out of 5 that I can also divide out of 10? And I want to be able to get whole number answers in the numerator and the denominator, meaning I don't want to divide it by something that's going to give me a decimal on the top or a decimal on the bottom. Okay? So one way to do it, if you're not sure, is you're going to look at the greatest common factor, and that is right here. To find the greatest common factor, what we do is we take our two numbers, example 5 and 10, and we write out the multiplication problem. So write out multiplication shortcut problem. These numbers in these multiplication problems, those are your factors. And we're looking for the largest one that they both have. So for example, 10 has 10. That's a big number comparatively, but there is no 10 over here, so I can't pick the 10. They both have 1s and they both have 5s. So I'm going to pick the 5 because it's the greatest and they have it in common, greatest common factor. And so then I come up here and I divide a 5, the GCF, or the number that I can divide out of both of these. I divide the numerator and the denominator separately. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. I'm given the fraction 1/2, and I do have to stop here and ask myself, is there any other number I can divide out of 1 and 2 to get whole numbers back? And the answer is no, and it's because they are both prime numbers. To be a prime number means that you're only divisible by yourself in 1, and that will not help us simplify or reduce this fraction into lowest terms. So 5/10 is equivalent to the fraction 1/2. Again, these are words that we are learning that we need to know. Now, let's look at a different example. Okay, in our notes, this is actually going to be section 3. Okay, and up here, if I'm just numbering backwards, this is section 2, and then up at the top is section number 1 when we talk about place values. So go down to section 3, and I have this fraction, this decimal, 0 and 36 hundredths. This place value, hundredths, allows me to put the 100 as the denominator, and the 36 is its numerator. So yes, this is a fraction that represents this decimal, but it is not the simplified fraction. So again, you want to find a GCF, greatest common factor, but sometimes I don't find the greatest one. Sometimes I only find what they have in common. So down here, I started writing multiplication problems, and I noticed that these numbers are kind of big. So I started with my 2's because 2's are very easy for me because I know all even numbers are divisible by 2. So I said, you know what, if 2 works, I'm just going to take 2's out. So I divided both 36 and 100 by 2 separately, and I got 18 over 50. Well, notice I came over here and I had to look at 18 and 50 again. And I know they're both even numbers. So I know all even numbers are divisible by 2. So guys, I divided my numerator and my denominator both by 2's. And this time I got 9 over 25. So here is my 9 and my 25, where I take them and I write out their multiplication problems. The only number I could find they had in common were 1's. And I have learned through practice that if I divide 9 and 25 both by 1's, I'm going to get the same number back. So I'm done. There is no other common factor to divide out. So I know that 36 hundredths is equivalent to 9/25. Okay? So starting here, the big key to how do I convert decimals into fractions, you must know your place value. That's super important. Okay? This part is also going to be on my test. This is extremely important. I am going to have to simplify my fractions using this GCF. And then, of course, down here, very, very important again. You're going to be simplifying decimals into fractions and then putting them in their lowest terms. Hope this helped you.